Copwatch, policing the police every single day.
Say hi, Andy. I'm recording you.
Alright, you get the whole thing, right?
I got you.
Ocean City cops are not people.
Yes, they are. You know what's really criminal?
What's that?
Those knee-high socks.
I know, but that's what the brown shirts wore. For 9 years. The quick story is, sadly 9 years ago, I ran into a corrupt cop who woke me up to the corruption. And that's when I found out you can do a certain thing called records request. And you can uncover corruption. So that's what I did for many years. I would pull records and I would expose government corruption, police corruption, sheriff corruption. I didn't care. If it was corruption, I did it. Because as we sadly know, a lot of times the newspaper and the TV do not do their job. We have to do the job to get some stories out that might, people would like to know about. So in doing that, this is one of the things where, like Bill said, they started to slowly but surely do selective enforcement and trying to tamp me down. Is a couple years ago, they literally made a law. What I would do is I make a record request. I would go in, not like this, but I would go in with this. It's a body camera. I would film myself getting the document, and then I would do a story on it later. YouTube, Facebook, websites, Twitter, all that happy stuff. TikTok. I have over 200 million views of my stuff online. Over 200,000 subscribers, and a lot of that's gone because of, like you said, all the media is just squashing everything, big time. It's really bad. They've killed YouTube channels, they've killed Facebook channels, they've killed TikTok. It's disgusting. So then the government thought, well, this isn't good. He's exposing corruption. So a couple years ago, they made a law. This was in the thing that for tonight, and at the same time it wasn't. They made a law. You cannot record. I don't know if you guys know this. Punta Gorda, Charlotte County made a law. You cannot record government officials in their government building doing their government job. That is outrageous. Okay, it's illegal. I already did try to get a lawyer for that, and this lawyer that I got, he's from Jacksonville. He used to be really good, Andrew Bondrew. He's done a lot of good work. Apparently he lost his mojo because in federal court he filed something he shouldn't have. The judge ripped him a new you-know-what, and he took off with my money and said I drop it. So now, even though it wasn't finished, Florida is using it as case law, and now they're abusing this across Florida, banning people from filming government officials in a public place doing their public duty. It's insane. So that's where it started going downhill. So now that I'm literally almost trespassed from everywhere in Punta Gorda, Charlotte County, to the point where I'm trespassed from the police station, which is outrageous. What if I need help? I'm trespassed from all Charlotte County Sheriff's substations. It was insane. So I thought one way to help maybe stop this insanity is to run for sheriff. I actually ran for sheriff this past time. And because of COVID, you guys know, that just blew up everything. We couldn't have meet and greets, we couldn't have debates, none of that. So that was a joke. I got 300 votes, but I was also there too. I was one of those people, they run to say the stuff that nobody else can. So there was our main sheriff we have, he just got elected the third time. And then there was another guy that ran again, and he was an ex-cop, he couldn't say stuff, so I was the guy they threw in to say all the stuff he couldn't say. So anyways, I lost. It was a joke. But right before the election, that's when they trespassed me from all the sheriff's offices and all the Punta Gorda police station, and then blasted that all over TV and news. How can he be sheriff if he can't even go into his office? So that's how bad this is getting down there. So when it started happening, I was already out, in the streets, trying to get elected. I knew I wasn't going to get elected, but still having fun. And anyways, that's when I was out on the streets doing that. And then after I knew I was going to lose, then I started switching to protest. Because like I said, I was already trespassed from everywhere. So then I started getting into, as you know, this is a very contentious election. A lot of people, this is the reason they used for this. A lot of people had the F Biden flag, okay? It was, as you know, it's still a hot topic. So supposedly at the beginning of this year they started talking about it, and they actually did do it like 3 to 4 months ago. They literally made a law. They should have called it the Sheets Law, because they never said my name when you watched the city council meetings, but they all talked about how that guy was by the farmer's market. That was me. That guy that was down by the water where people walk. That was me. They literally made the law for me because I was exposing corruption locally. And once in a while, I would do the F Biden flag, which just everybody freaks out on. It's so much fun. So anyways.
Is that Charlotte County?
That is Charlotte County and Punta Gorda. You are correct. So anyways, so when that happened, they made the illegal law, and of course they didn't stop. What they would do is they did it under the sign law. As you know, they're not supposed to say what I can say and what I cannot. So they put it in with the sign law. Any word that they do not like. So I guess the F word they do not like. When we went to kangaroo court, they said the F word only means sex. So that's how they pushed it for kangaroo court. So I ended up getting 7 tickets. The first one is a warning. The rest of them go from $100 to $200. I already knew the Rutherford Institute. They were going to help me with the case they were trying to charge me with on another story I did years ago, but they never charged me. And I think that was because they knew Rutherford was almost there. And so he goes, okay, I'll help you, but I need a lawyer. Because they're in Washington, D.C. We need a lawyer down here. So in Fort Myers, half hour away from me, I found a case in the news about a street preacher who's doing a abortion protest, and they're messing with his free speech. So I found out, he was illegally arrested. They took it to court. He lost the court. It is down by us. The news is so against free speech, it's not even funny. So they're bragging, ha ha, he lost the case. So I called his lawyer. I said, okay, this is what we got going. He's like, I normally don't represent people like you because he's a Christian civil rights lawyer. He said, but this is so close to what we got here, half hour away, and you have the right to free speech, I'll take it. They made a deal with Rutherford, and we went to, does anybody know what code enforcement court is? Anybody? All right, we were talking about this earlier with Bill. It is insane. Unbelievably, in America, is it just Florida or all of America? I don't know. They have a thing called a code enforcement board. It's a kangaroo court. Where I'm at, it is 7, please don't take this the wrong way, 7 rich white people from our area. We have Punta Gorda's got a lot of money. In our area, there's a ton of people with a lot of money. So 7 rich people are my judge and my jury, and I went there with Rutherford Institute with the lawyers, and this is what they literally said in this code enforcement board. They literally said we cannot bring the Constitution in to this court, this kangaroo court. We cannot bring case law in. We can only talk about their illegal ordinance. And it was, my lawyer's freaking out, they're freaking out. It was my first 4 tickets. And what we did not know, and we found out later on my appeal paperwork, if you dare to appeal Punta Gorda for any of this stuff, it was on my appeal paper, I missed it, and then it happened. They said, if we feel, and it's in Florida statute, if we feel that you've committed irreparable harm, we can fine you $5,000. They tried to fine me $11,000. So it went from that $100 and $200 tickets to that much. Luckily and unluckily, they lowered it down to $2,500, which is still outrageous. I still got 3 more tickets to go. And you know and I know, it's called free speech. So that's what happened. Rutherford's freaking out, my lawyer's freaking out, and so now we got to appeal in the state court. I still got 3 more tickets to go, and we just couldn't believe that this is happening. Like somebody said, a friend of mine is from California. He's like, I thought this would happen in California, not in Florida, not in Punta Gorda. So after that happened, Rutherford announced that they were going to sue him in federal court. Once we get through appeals court here, we're going to federal court because this is so egregious. And by the way, this is selective. I forgot to mention this. After they passed the law, tons of people came to Punta Gorda protesting. Guess who's the only one that got a ticket? Me. 7 tickets. I have video and pictures of all this. There was people everywhere. F Biden, I mean, just whatever, okay? They brought it. Anything that, poke the bear to get a ticket, to get involved in a lawsuit, they wouldn't write a ticket. I will admit, I'm not the only one that got a ticket. There is one man that they did give a ticket. He had a sign that said F the city council, and he sat right in front of City Hall. He's a large man, he's obese, but all he did is sit on the chair right in front of City Hall, and they gave him a ticket. So now he's involved in the lawsuit. And then there was a couple more that got a warning, and but it is a nightmare, it's a mess. So after Rutherford announced that they were going to sue, I also did some protests in front of one of the first schools that opened up was an elementary school in Punta Gorda. I was on the sidewalk, and you know, if you do a protest and you want people to know what you're doing, you go where the people are, correct? So I was going there in the morning, the people were leaving, they already dropped the kids off, okay? As you know, I'm on a sidewalk, I can legally protest. I did the abortion protest there. I do admit it had a dead baby, and you know, and it said F abortion. I was adopted, I was almost killed. I was literally almost aborted. So that's why I'm passionate with this issue, okay? So the parents freaked out because I was there. Even though I'm outside of school, I'm on a sidewalk, a cop came up and literally touched me, pushed me, tried to grab my sign, pushed me all the way down the street and said, get out of here. For doing something completely legal. And then 4 days after Rutherford announced they were going to sue, they arrested me for free speech on a sidewalk in front of the school. They are claiming it's disturbing the peace and that it's messing with administrative duties of the school. All I was doing was protesting. It was the parents. If you see the video, it was the parents that blew it up. I mean, just, it was crazy. So, I was mentioning the bill. Luckily, our sheriff, he must get government money because ever since he's been in office, he keeps them in there for 8 hours because I guess he gets state money, federal money, I don't know. I was in and out in 3. I was in there 2 hours. They knew, they don't want to touch us with the 10-foot pole. The sheriff has already said that. They let me use their phone to call the bondsman, and I was out in 3. That's a record for our jail right now. So that was the good, bad part. Still sucks getting arrested. The wife freaked out, you know, because she knew that what we were doing, but she didn't think, I didn't think I would be arrested for doing something that's called the First Amendment. So, so that's what happened. I can't trust anybody in Charlotte County because, it's, in my opinion, it's so corrupt there. So I had to go all the way to Naples, an hour away. I knew a civil rights lawyer down there. She's too busy. She's already got another really bad case down there. But she goes, okay, get this lawyer over here. He does felony murder cases. He's hardcore. He helped another friend of mine. In fact, it's her client that they wanted to put away 8 years because they said he attacked the cop. No, the cop illegally attacked him. But so I have him, but to get him, it was not cheap. $3,500. But for that price, we did agree that we'll go all the way. I said I want jury trial, I want depots. We have videos of all this. If you read the affidavit and looked at the video, they lied everywhere. And I believe it was retaliation because the same guy that did the charge of me, I almost got fired 2 years before that because he did an interview with me and he told me something he wasn't supposed to. So it's really bad. I will admit, since I got the good lawyer, we got the lawsuit going. I think they thought I was going to stop. I'm not going to stop. I will admit that if I go out now, if I do the F word, now I have to do a redaction, meaning I put tape over the U and make it an O. So instead it says fuck. So, but in doing that, I'm not getting any more tickets. They're not coming up right to me and harassing me anymore, but they are definitely still driving by, but it's cut way back. Because as Bill knows, Rutherford's a big deal. That's Washington D.C. stuff. So that's where it's at right now. The sad part is, in all this insanity, and this is why another reason why I pull records. In all this insanity, we found out on some of the body camera that when some of the protesters there, they were talking about, look up his name in a contact list. And I never, that's 9 years I've been doing this stuff. I never knew what's a contact list. I don't know if Bill knows it. A contact list is any time that the Punta Gorda police have talked to you about anything, okay? They keep a list, okay? So my friend gets his. I go, how long's your list? He was embarrassed. He goes, it was a page. I'm like, okay, whatever. And I get my list. How many pages is mine, Bill?
3.
4.
More.
So I was like, are you serious? So I'm looking at this stuff, and this is why I pull records, to expose stuff like that. I had no idea they're collecting this. Here's another reason why you got to pull records too all the time, in my opinion, if you can, okay, and expose it. I've got 2 more investigations I didn't even know about. So they're still trying to get me. Then I pulled the one for Charlotte County Sheriff, who I've been fighting for many, many years. How many pages was that?
I can't get
14 pages. Oh. Luckily and unluckily, half of them were getting record requests. Apparently me coming in with the camera to get a record request is a bad thing. So I was on the contact list for that. But again, the other half, I went through those I was looking at. There was stuff on there I had no idea that they were looking into. In fact, there's 2 more investigations on that list. So absolutely, it's selective enforcement. They're, you know, they hate freedom. They hate free speech there. They hate people exposing stuff. They're, in my opinion, they're totally in with the press and the TV. You know, because I'm doing stuff that nobody else will do. As a quick example, pulling some of the records I did, I loved, and by the way, they're stopping me from doing this too. So this is how they're stopping me on the records quest. You know, does everybody know about Florida Sunshine Law here? Okay, you have the right to get records, okay? All right. When I found out about that years ago, it just started going downhill ever since. Now I almost get no records at all, illegally. Here we go, but 9 years. In my opinion, Florida is so corrupt, I cannot find a lawyer to sue them for the record request. Because I don't know if you guys know, you have the right to sue to get your records. Period. Okay? I have so many cases on records violations, it's not even funny. So now I almost get no records. And here's the reason why I love getting records and exposing it. I love getting the IAs, the internal investigations. You guys know what that is? With the police? Yes, they do their own internal investigations because of course they're going to find themselves guilty, right? Okay. But anyways, so they don't, alright? And I love getting those records and exposing it because a ton of people don't know what the heck's going on. I've exposed so much stuff through the years, it's not even funny. But now I've pretty much been shut down because they won't give it to me, or it's redacted, or they make me pay when I shouldn't have to pay because the first half hour is free, it's supposed to be, used to be, not anymore. I mean, but one quick example of why this is worth exposing. Here's an example. In fact, this is actually Northport where it happened. There was a cop in Northport that they hired, and Sarasota called up Northport and they said, did you get his psych eval? And they're like, yeah, he passed. Why? What's the problem? And they go, did you look at the certain question that we asked and you asked, and how did he react to it? I said, they go, what do you mean? They go, what did he say when, have you ever had any weird sex acts? And guess what we come to find out? He is married, ex-military, with kids. He's been having sex with his dog for his whole life.
Who?
A cop in Northport. Sex with a dog his whole freaking life. Ex-military, married, with kids, all of that. That's why I like pulling records because, you know, like I said, is the TV and press going to do that? No. But I will. I'll put it on Facebook. I'll put it on YouTube. I'll put it on Twitter. Because, you know, I know we need police, but you know and I know we don't need corrupt police. One of the other things that I say too is, you know and I know, our founding fathers fought for this country to be free, and now literally everything is illegal. Local, state, and federal. There's a, does anybody here like to read books? Okay, there's a book called 3 Felonies a Day. Has anybody ever heard of it? Yeah, there you go. Written by Dershowitz. Right. Yes, it's unbelievable. If you read that book, you will get goosebumps like I got right now. You are committing 3 felonies a day and you don't even know it. Right now, right here. Because our government is so out of control. And, you know, and so, because a lot of people tell me, well, how can you be against police, but, you know, for police? And, you know, we got to remember, too, police are the government. They're the enforcement arm of the government, okay? That's why they're, in my opinion, more scary. You know, so that's why, you know, I always mention, you know, our founding fathers fought for freedom, not for everything to be illegal. I mean, you know, I remind people all the time, too. What's the Second Amendment for? Deer hunting or government hunting? Right? Government hunting. people keep forgetting. You know, I hate war. I don't like war. It sucks. People die. But we've done it twice in America. One time, Red Coat British Police, just be honest, we killed them for freedom. Period. We did. Then when the North went after the South, some of the first people that they would pop, that they would see, were the Southern Slave Patrol Police. Because that was one of the things in that war, was they were trying to free the slaves. I know there's a lot of other issues too, but that was, you know, one of the things. So, you know, people forget. They're like, you can't touch a police, you can't do anything, you can't say anything. If you can't do anything and you can't say anything, are you free? No, in my opinion, not. So, anyways, that's all I got. If anybody's got any questions, how do you pull records, what?
There's a lawyer here in Sarasota. Maybe someone here knows the name, I can't remember it.
Morganson?
Huh?
Is it for Sunshine?
Yeah, Sunshine Law.
No,
She actually
she doesn't.
won a case, $3 million against the city of Venice because they wouldn't give up the records.
That is correct. Yeah, she sadly stopped.
What's her last name?
Morganson.
Mogensen.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. You spoke of her lot?
Yeah, she sadly, like Dave said, stopped.
I didn't hear what you said.
She sadly, like Dave was saying, she stopped doing the records cases. I don't know why.
You know, the other thing is, I heard that there was an organization in Florida, now this is dated information, maybe 12, 13 years ago.
Right.
That there was an organization in Florida that would assist you if you had problems.
That's the First Amendment?
Amendments?
Yeah, they are sadly,
They sell Sunshine Law books.
yeah, they lost their mojo too. I mean, I'm from Michigan in the year 2000. I thought, you know, I came down here in 2000. I thought Michigan was messed up, right? And then I came to Florida, and it got worse, which is very sad. So yeah, 9 years, I cannot find a lawyer for records. And I thought I had one lawyer for records for 1 second. Who was the lady that ran for state attorney up here? She supposedly was a Republican. What was her name?
Kathy something?
Yeah, anyways, she ran.
Lisa Shitaro.
Yes.
Oh.
Gave her the money, 300 down. I'll take your case. Still hasn't called. And that was 6 months ago?
At least.
8 months ago? Still hasn't called. She supposedly helped another lady in North.
Why didn't you call up?
I have, and she won't return.
Do you have a cell number?
Yes, I have all of it. We used to be friends too. I was helping her in her election. I was slamming the other guy because he's dirty, in my opinion.
Did you go down to our office?
That is true. No, I haven't been to her office, but yeah, I gave up.
Well, you should at least get your 300 down.
I agree with that. I agree. But she supposedly said just for me talking to her cost 300. Yep, so that's gone. Very, very sad.
Oh.
What's that?
There was like a head guy on the Punta Gorda code enforcement board that was saying that the F word can only mean sex, right?
Correct.
What was his name again?
This is funny. Ed Wiener.
Yeah.
Sounds like he was a dick.
He was a dick. And it's funny that you mentioned it. I forgot about that, Dave. Thank you. After that kangaroo chaos with the code enforcement board, even the city council in the next meeting, and it was on video, I mean, it was so much fun. They literally admitted guilt. They admitted that was the worst code enforcement board meeting they've ever seen. They fired him for he was the one that kept trying to charge $5,000 per charge. They fired him for being out of control. Then here was what's really messed up. This is, like I said, what, in my opinion, why it's just so corrupt there. There was one other guy that's a very smart person. He's a vestor. He was MIT. We looked up his history. He kept fighting that this is illegal. I'm not going to have any part to do with it. He voted no on everything. They fired him for doing that. They literally said in the city council meeting, we need people on the board that will only find them guilty. They literally said it on video. And Dave here can tell you, he's been watching the Charlotte County Code Enforcement Board for a long time, that these code enforcement boards are out of control. It's not a real court.
Well, let me ask you a question.
What's that?
Is it a judicial branch or is it an executive branch?
It's an administrative branch.
Yes.
So that's executive. theoretically.
No.
No.
They're on their own, pretty much on their own. The county attorney sets up the court. Well, for the county, she sets up the court, she pays the magistrate, she makes some of the rules herself. These guys are, let's see, the 5 council members are appointed
Yes.
by the city council.
Correct.
To only rubber stamp and say.
That's correct.
Are you in Charlotte County?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, and then the city of Punta Gorda is in Charlotte County, correct. So both code enforcement boards, Charlotte County's got a code enforcement board, city of Punta Gorda's got a code enforcement board, they're both out of control.
Yeah.
Well,
no, the county has a magistrate.
That is true, but there's still, yes, they're getting a little bit better, but he will tell you the code enforcement board in Charlotte County just had a case where somebody had low air pressure in his truck tire. Do you know how much they tried to fine him? $4,500 for low air pressure in his truck tire. How is this happening in America right now? You know what I mean? There's no due process. And then and by the way, the court supposedly was telling us, it sounds like we are the first people to ever appeal a code enforcement board hearing.
Wow.
It's so messed up. They supposedly said when the Rutherford was filing it, they're like, we don't know how to do this, we never did this. Nobody ever challenged this insanity. It's a fake court. Like I said, if you can't bring in the Constitution
Or law.
or case law, which they use to write their law, I forgot to mention this. Their city attorney that talked the city council into doing this illegal law, he was using federal case law for the FCC. What is the FCC over? Radio and TV.
Trade.
Do I look?
Federal Trade Commission.
No.
Yeah.
No, not FCC, FCC.
FCC.
Airways.
Federal
Airways.
communication.
Oh, okay.
So do I look like a radio or TV?
No.
They're using case law for.
You did have a TV once.
That is true. He is right. I did go out with the protest after they made the law. I went out with the protest, and I did a setup. I got my battery. I got my charger. I brought a TV with me out in public. I said, "What are they going to ban music and movies next?" It was fun. I had fun on that one. So they didn't mess with that one. But I was just making a point. I was making a point. Is book burning next? You know what I mean?
Is Constitution burning next?
Literally.
That's already been
It
done.
gets down to basic things too. There are 457 federal agencies
There you
running
go.
our lives. They're unconstitutional, they're illegitimate,
Out of
but
control.
they're running everything.
That is correct.
457, look it up.
And
Whose
there's
decisions have the effect of law.
that
Even
is
though
correct.
it's not legal.
That is correct. Absolutely correct. I forgot to also mention too, since doing this also too, apparently I'm not going to say nobody. There was somebody else that used to be in our town that was also protesting the insanity with a sign, okay? All right, sadly he's gone now. He did some bad stuff, he's gone. So anyways, so then I started doing it, and I have been assaulted so many times it's out of control. I do have concealed carry. I don't dare to use it because I feel they will charge me. I did end up buying a can of bear spray because that's a preferred thing for activists nowadays because it's very effective. 3 foot, 15 feet out, you're done if you get hit with that. I have had a bottle hit me in the back of the head. I've been chased almost into a hotel. I've had beer thrown on me. I mean, just on and on. But now that I've been doing this for months, and by the way, I wrote incident reports on all this. You know what's weird? Were any of them charged?
Probably
None. Nobody was charged. It is unbelievable. And I did not mention this. When I was at the school protesting, I came back to the car. I believe the police were involved in this. I didn't mention this to you though. They came back to the car. I had a white Toyota Solera. Came back to the car. Black marker on the side of my car. F you, don't mess with our elementary school. And they freaking knifed 2 of my tires. When the cop came to take the report, you know what she's going to do? She wrote it down. She's like, okay, call us later, tell us how much. I'm like, are you serious? This is $1,000 worth of damage. Luckily, her supervisor came up and said, we actually have to do our job here. And then they started going around to the businesses looking for cameras. I believe it was one of the police and or a friend of his that did it, because right before I came back to the car, I saw the cop come back from the school, and as I walked back to my car, right before I started walking back to the car, I noticed somebody pull up in the car and he put a mask on in his car. I was like, oh shit, I don't have, all I had was my Bears family. So I'm walking back to my car, it's one street away. In fact, I took the long way around. He followed me all the way back to the car, and I could tell he was filming me as I was freaking out because I saw the damage of my car. And he had so much balls, after I called the cops, and the cops were there, he drove by waving. So it is...
So he was involved.
Yeah, they ripped the car apart. Big time, and then towed it. I literally came to get the car 4 hours later, and because it was on a Saturday, on the weekend, how much did they charge me to get the car out? $250 bucks. That's a special fee because it's on Saturday, you know. So the hate is there just for fighting corruption. You know, when people ask me when I'm going to stop, and you know, I just say when we're free. And sadly, it looks like it's going to be a while for that. But anyways, any more questions?
The people that go to the code enforcement are just regular people. They can't fight City Hall. They don't have the unction to fight City Hall like you do.
Right.
That's why they were shocked when you stood up against them for appealing.
Right.
Because they never had anybody. Everybody just rolls. You don't fight City Hall.
Correct.
You don't have the... I mean, there's no logic to their thinking. No matter what you think is right, they just determine it's wrong.
That's correct, and you are correct. Another reason why they don't care is because they knew that I already had that one lawyer that, you know, threw the case. I don't know if they paid him off or what. It was just crazy how he took the money and ran. But anyway, so they know that it's hard for me to find a lawyer because I'm supposedly toxic because I fight corruption. Wow, that's sad. But anyways, I agree with you. And this is what's really messed up. So what if it's a poor person to mess with? This is what we found out for the appeal. Just to appeal it is $400 bucks. So how is this fair for a poor person? If it went straight to court, then you have the Constitution, you have case law, you can use it right there. But now they're using kangaroo court and you have to pay $400 to appeal it? And a lawyer if you don't know what you're doing? So it's a mess. What's that?
Don't you have to argue everything you're going to use in the code enforcement court? That's what your lawyer did.
Actually, it is just...
You might miss out. Huh?
He is correct. It is just like regular court. If you do not bring it up in code enforcement court, you can't use it at the next level. My lawyer tried to enter evidence, all the case law. He gave it to them early for them to read, right? They literally tried to ban it from the session. Literally tried to ban it. They said, we do not want this here because you know and I know we get to use it in the next court where it's real. Real court. But we're talking about Charlotte County. That's questionable if it's real, right? Yeah. So we think that we might probably even lose there and that we'll have to appeal again and then finally go to federal court. But here's what's scary about what's happening. This disease of killing free speech, it's spreading. We have heard that there is another place in Florida right now that is trying to ban free speech too. The one guy that was arrested for the sticker on his car, I eat ass, up in Florida. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Where was that?
Way up in Jacksonville. He had on the back of his window, he said, I eat ass. He was arrested for that. And guess what? The same lawyer that just took that to civil rights federal court in Jacksonville lost for free speech. That is scary. In federal court. Lost it. I eat ass on this. I mean, come on. Is that going to hurt you if you see that? Are you going to die? Is your brain going to melt? I don't think so.
I eat ass.
I eat ass. A-S-S.
And this was a dog? The cop was having sex with a dog? Is that what you said?
Yes. Yes.
So was that like, did they issue a
oral section.
Was it mutual consent?
That is, he just did a really good joke. Did you hear that?
You missed it.
Say it again. What'd you say? Did they talk?
Did they have a deposition with the dog and was it mutual consent?
That is
I like
very funny.
that.
That is very funny.
Talk to the vet.
He could
That is
always have
correct.
said it was puppy love.
So here's the good news. And when they found out about that, then yeah, he was fired. He was smeared. I had the family
This is like
contact
a
him.
bad joke. Stop it. This is true?
It's real. And that's just one of the records I've pulled over the years. I mean, you know, Dave knows me, and the records that I pulled over the years, it's mind-blowing the stuff that has happened. I mean, just unbelievable. And that's just one record that I told you about. I have years of this stuff. If anybody's interested, Charlotte County Copwatch on Facebook, while it's still there, they are threatening to take it down. I've gotten multiple notices lately because, as you know, free speech on Facebook is dead. So for the moment, it's still there. You will see there is 9 years of stories of corruption upon corruption upon corruption with the, you know, the government, police, sheriff. It's bad.
In California, in the code enforcement, not only do you get fined, but then you get a bill from the attorney, from the city or the county attorney for them prosecuting. Right.
Wow.
So, I mean, you can get fined for $500 and then get a bill of $4,000 from the attorney.
Ooh. That's really bad. That's stuff for the Institute for Justice.
They
We're talking
have
about
a
that
vested
earlier.
interest in code enforcement, so therefore the attorneys will be willing to, you know, find some technicality.
Correct.
You go, it's $250, and then you get $4,000, $3,000 bill.
And I don't know if you've read this. I'm a news freak. Our economy sucks so bad, in my opinion, right now, with all the cities, the states, and all that. This is another revenue generation. Especially, it's so uncontrolled, as me and Bill were talking about. It's not even real court. If real court did what they're doing, would they be shut down? Yes, I think maybe. Hope to God. Yeah, it's bad.
There are courts which are constitutional courts, and there are statutory courts. Now, most of what you go into is statutory court, but statutory court, statutory law is supposed to apply to people doing commerce.
Okay, that's interesting.
Constitutional court, you don't get to talk about the Constitution until you go to federal court.
I did not know that.
That's my understanding.
Right.
Yeah, it gets quite involved. There's common law courts also.
Correct.
But yeah, that's what I'm talking about, constitutional courts. The common law courts don't have the force of law.
It's really involved, you know, and it's gone now. But the sheriffs are supposed to be the enforcer of common law.
Well, that's right. And the sheriff is actually the highest constitutional authority in the county. He can tell the FBI to get the hell out of the county, and
Right.
they have to do it.
Correct.
So, but when you have a corrupt sheriff,
Thank you.
then you got a whole nother situation.
Can I add you what you said, because this doesn't relate to the story, but it does relate to show the corruption. So one of the you just brought up another subject. One of the records that I pulled was for a friend of mine. He thought he was being investigated by the sheriff. Okay, he loves guns. Okay, he's a gun freak. Okay, and he goes, "Can you look for my name in the database from the sheriff?" And this was a couple years ago. The response that we got back was he was under investigation for buying a gun. There is a law in Florida that no sheriff, police, government, anything are supposed to have a list of gun owners. 790.335, I believe, okay? All right, I was the one that broke that story 2 years ago. Eric Friday, the best gun lawyer in Florida, was all excited. We're going to sue the hell out of them. This is the biggest gun rights violation in all of Florida's history, right? Because this is what we found out. So this is what they were doing for years. They were, anybody that sells a gun to a gun shop or a pawn shop goes on what they call a pawn list. Okay, they think everybody in Florida that does anything to do with pawn is a bad person. So they put them on this list. And our sheriff was using this list to profile them. Completely illegal, third-degree felony. We had all the proof, and in fact, in the statute it said if I bring all that information to the state attorney, she must charge. Do you know what the state attorney said? When I gave her the list of the sheriffs, all these people that he had on his list, she said the list is not a list.
What?
Did you just hear what I said?
Yeah.
The list is not a list. She just admitted to the list, but she said it's not a list. I'm dead serious. Then it gets better.
How did she explain that?
She didn't. That's all she said. The list is not a list, even though she just said it's a list. Then the second person that can do something about this is a state attorney. Who's the state?
Elmira or?
No, not Elmira. The state attorney of Florida.
Moody.
Moody, yeah, okay. So then this is the second thing that happens. She also has power. If you give her the evidence, she can...
Attorney General.
Yeah, she can assess a really big fine, $5 million max, okay? So we found out the sheriff was going to have a dinner for everybody, you know, it was a pat me on the back sheriff dinner, I guess. So we went to the sheriff's dinner because we heard she's going to be there. So we have our evidence on her. We're running our cell phones. It has a secret program on here where it can do video and nobody has an idea. It was awesome. So anyways, we walk up to her. We're like, you know, we'd like to talk to you. Here's evidence. Our sheriff has violated the law, third-degree felony. While we're giving her the evidence, the sheriff came up behind her and said, I need to talk to you, and took her away. That's how bad it is. And you know what? With that evidence, did she do anything? Nothing. And it's so bad, DeSantis knows about it, and he did nothing. So it is completely out of control. I mean, DeSantis knows, the state attorney general knows, nobody's doing anything.
I knew it.